What's going on, everybody? It's your big homie, the armchair operator, and welcome to today's video. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you enjoyed today's content, do me a solid, y'all. Hit that like and subscribe button. Become a part of the family. We would love to have you. And if you're coming back to the channel, thank you so much for coming back. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you also enjoyed today's content. Now, today, I got a good one for y'all. And to be perfectly honest, I did not expect to be doing this video right now, but either way, with that being said, today I'm going to give you my initial impressions on the SIG Sauer P211 GTO. Listen, I got some thoughts about this particular firearm that I am going to share with you right now in this here video. But before we get into that, let me just give you a quick story time. So first of all, SIG unveiled the P211 GTO at their SIG Next event. I think it was a couple months ago, maybe about April, May, June, somewhere in that time frame. And they released it to market. They didn't really do a whole lot of publicity or anything like that. They just showed it at the SIG Next event, which I was not able to attend. Hell, I didn't even know about the event, but I saw some videos online circulating about the event. That's how I know about it. But they basically just said that the gun was coming out and it was going to start showing up at retailers somewhere around the end of the summer time frame. So fast forward to last week, I get a text from my guy Frank Bank at the Bunker Gun Shop. Huge shout out to Bunker for this one. I don't know what kind of voodoo magic y'all working by getting some of these exclusive guns in, but big ups to y'all for making this happen. So anyway, he sent me a text message, and with that in the message, and he said we got it available. The only one right now, as far as I know, in the Philadelphia area, hell, it might even be the only one in the East Coast for all we know, because they're just arriving at retailers. So when he sent it to me, I said, say less. I'm gonna find a way to make it happen. And that brings us here today. And that's how I got this bad boy in my possession right now. But before we get into that, YouTube, this video is just for educational purposes only. I'm not offering for sale any firearms or products on this channel. I'm basically just talking about my own equipment, giving my impressions on it. And like I said, this is just for educational purposes only. Now, with that being said, let's get into a little bit more about what this SIG P211 is all about. Now, one thing about SIG is not new to the 1911 game. They've been making 1911s for years as far as I know, but at least to my knowledge, this is their first attempt at an actual double stack 1911/2011 style firearm chambered in 9mm. Now, it looks and functions just like a 1911, but there are some key differences between this and some of the other 1911s that are out there on the market, and I'm going to get into more of that in my tabletop. But first, let's verify clear real quick. As you can see, chamber is empty, magazine is empty, this firearm is verified clear, safe direction, boom, and we are filming in a safe and controlled environment. I don't have any ammunition anywhere in the review space. All right, so I did a first impressions video on my Instagram. If you're not following me on my Instagram, definitely go ahead and look it up. I'll put the link down in the comments, not the details section of the video, so that way you can head on to my Instagram. Sometimes I'll post things on my Instagram. It's kind of little teasers, sneak peeks that I may not post on YouTube, so you're going to want to follow me on there. All right, so I posted basically out of the box video for the most part, just giving my initial first-hand impressions of the pistol before I shot it. So I'm just going to recap a little bit about that right now. So feeling the gun in hand, it has a bit of a heft to it. She's not a light gun, even without the light. This is a Surefire X300B model, and we have a Leupold Delta Point Pro up on the top. But even without these two, it has a substantial, I won't say a substantial amount of weight, but it feels good in hand. It has a good balance, and I would say that a lot of that has to do with this aluminum grip that they have. These are the G10 grip panels here on the side that are removable from what I've been able to ascertain online. But it feels really good in hand, and one thing I really like is this aluminum flat face trigger. I think that's really awesome. But out of the in hand, I can feel the quality. I can feel the quality. It has good balance and has good ergonomics. And overall first impressions, I really do like this firearm. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go on over to the tabletop, and I'm going to get more in depth about the pistol, the specs and the features, and what it comes with out of the box. And then I'm just going to talk about my initial impressions of this particular firearm on the range, and I'm just going to head back here and close this thing out. All right, so without further ado, let's get on over to the tabletop and let's get down to business. All right, y'all, welcome to the review space. As you can see, we got the SIG P211 down here on the tabletop. Pretty much what you see is what you get outside of the light and the red dot, of course, but there are some other things that we'll get into. But for right now, we're just going to get into a little bit more detail about the particular pistol itself. And once again, we got to verify clear because safety, right? So as you can see, that chamber is empty, magazine is empty, file, safe direction, this firearm is verified clear. And let's just put this, or in fact, let's start with the magazines. So the gun comes with 3 magazines. We have 2 standard 21 round magazines, and we have 1 23 round magazine. So I think that that's really nice. I love when a company gives you several magazines out of the box. 3, I think it should be a healthy minimum, especially for a firearm that's meant for competition or duty use, or hell, even EDC. So the more magazines, the better. Now, this particular gun obviously was designed around the SIG P320 magazine style. That may appeal to some, and it may not appeal to some. So it'll be really interesting to see how the larger 1911/2011 community will take to this particular firearm. Me personally, I like the fact that it takes SIG P320 magazines. These magazines are plentiful, relatively easy to find, and pretty much reliable. You don't have to do any tuning or any voodoo magic or anything like that to get these magazines to run. And to be fair, you don't really have to do all that much work to the higher quality double stack 1911 magazines either, like your Nighthawk magazines, your Staccato magazines, your Atlas, and so on and so forth. But point is, those magazines usually cost $11 million, man. I mean, they are not cheap magazines by any stretch of the imagination. And I really can't get into costs on YouTube, but that's what I'm saying. But those who know that those magazines are not cheap. These magazines are far more economical, and for, I would say, the average person, a far more attractive option to get into. So anyway, enough about the magazines. Let's talk about the firearm itself. Like I said, this thing is pretty substantial, and as a matter of fact, I have my scale over here. Let's put this to the side. Let's see how much this weighs. Wait a minute, give me 1 second. Let's reset the scale. Okay, let's see how much she weighs. So without a magazine inserted, I don't know if you can see that, but we're looking at 43.25 ounces unloaded with the dot and the light on here. So that's pretty substantial. All right, so let's take a look at the slide here. So we have good serrations up at the front here. Up in the front, you can do your press checks, and you got good serrations in the back. Now this slide feels very nice. It's nice, it's smooth. I don't know what the poundage of the recoil spring is in this particular firearm. If I were to guess, it feels like maybe an 11 and 12 pound spring. It's starting to loosen up the grit a little bit. As you can see, I have a rather judicious amount of I think this is the Lucas oil that's on here right now. But either way, the slide feels nice. Now, let's talk about, well, first of all, I'm going to put the specs, the general specifications up on the screen so that way you can see it. You can pause it if you want to read it or not, but I'm just going to go over the important bullet points. The first bullet point here is we have a 4.4 inch bull barrel with a 3D printed compensator on the front. Now, this is very interesting. When I first heard that they had a 3D printed compensator, I didn't really know how I felt about that. One of the things that I really like with, say, something like my Staccato XC, for example, the way they machine the barrel with that island compensator, that's all one solid piece. So you don't have to worry about timing the compensator with the comps in the barrel or anything like that. You don't have to worry about anything working its way loose over time. You don't have to worry about taking that guy off to remove the barrel. None of that stuff. It's just one solid piece, and that's just what it is. With this, it's a little bit different. This is removable, and as you can see, you got like a little set screw in here, and you have a push pin right here, and you would basically just use your tools and remove that guy if you need to remove the compensator. Speaking of that, I don't think that they have like a punch tool or anything like that. I didn't see anything like that in here, but if you have like an armorer's tool set or something like that, I'm pretty sure that you could find something in order to remove the compensator if you should need to do so. But with that being said, this compensator has, like, you know, it has a port up here, and it has these vents on the side, and the way they made it is pretty interesting. So apparently the gases from the barrel kind of goes down into like some kind of chamber that's like at the bottom of this thing as well as the top, and it gives it like a kind of a delay. And according to SIG, it gives you about a 30% reduction in noticeable recoil while firing. Now, I have no way of measuring that while I'm on the range running this thing, but what I will say is that it's a soft shooting pistol for sure. That 4.4 inch bulb, the 4.4 inch barrel and slide also means that there's less slide mass reciprocating back and forth, which also in turn translates into quicker follow-up shots and overall flat shooting experience. That being said, this particular firearm, at least to me, is worthy of, well, I'll put it like this. This namesake, the GTO, would be proud, because it's a quick little son of a gun, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. We're gonna talk about that more so when we get into the range portion of this review. Moving on from there, we got ourselves a full length dust cover, which to me, I really like that. And I'm spoiled. I love the look of a full dust cover nowadays, and I'm not really a fan of, you know, dust covers that don't go to full length. I just like this look. You know what I mean? To each his own on that. But you got the full length dust cover. And this is a steel frame. And that's another big thing that I noticed, and I talked about that in my unboxing, that this is a steel frame gun with an aluminum grip. And that's why you have the balance that you have, and that's why you have the weight that you have. And there are a lot of firearms in this price point, Staccato, that doesn't give you that. Like, they'll give you a polymer grip and a polymer curved trigger for the same price. So I mean, hey, I big ups to SIG on that note. And then we have the grip module here. So the grip module, well, the first thing you notice before we even get to the grip itself, we have this wide trigger guard. Now with this trigger guard, it's great if you have gloved hands, so you can really get your finger in there. You don't have to worry about trying to fit a glove finger in there with no problem. That's good. One potential drawback that I see with this trigger guard is holster compatibility. So for example, here's my Staccato XC right here. Let's verify clear. Boom, clear. I don't know if you can see that. Boom, clear. Firearm is clear. Safe direction. Boom, we good to go. Mag back in. So look at the trigger guard on the Staccato XC, which is pretty much something that you would see on most 2011s. And now you have the trigger guard here on the GTO. So that's just something that you might want to think about if you decide to get into this firearm, holster compatibility. So because this gun is relatively new, I don't know if there are a whole lot of holsters out there for it at the moment, but I do imagine that they're going to be more popping up in the days, weeks, and months to come as this particular firearm gets further, as you see it pop up more in the wild here. Moving on from there, of course, one of the other features of this gun, this is a fully ambidextrous gun. As you can see, you got a slide stop on both sides here, and we got magazine release on both sides. And the magazine button, I believe, is reversible according to the directions that I've read. So you can remove this and put it on this side and just set it up for you lefties out there. So that might appeal to you as well. All right. Now, of course, we got the grip panel. So even though, like, for example, this Staccato XC with the polymer grip, yeah, I know, boo, polymer grips. All right. But this grip module is just a solid piece, right? It's just all one piece in and of itself. And then you have the texture. So you kind of, what you get is what you get. Some companies like Atlas has grip panels for some of their grips. They have palm swell inserts is what I'm trying to say. This particular gun has G10 grip panels that are removable, and you can actually replace these with other grip panels. Now, from what I'm hearing is that there are companies that are making aftermarket grip panels for this particular firearm. So that's going to be pretty interesting. If they made something, let's say, that had palm swells, i.e. like an Atlas, oh man, that might be something that I might jump into. That being said, the texture on this grip is very good. I don't have any issues with it at all. Let me just put that out there. So I personally am perfectly fine with just running with these grip panels, no problem. Now let's talk about the grip. This grip is different. All right, so look at the XC and look at this grip. So you can clearly see that the shape of the GTO's grip is different from that of your standard double stack 1911, 2011 gun. With that, I have to say that this is probably the most ergonomic pistol grip that I have ever had, I've ever held. Now, for those of you who know, you know that I'm a big fan of the M&P style grips. I love those grips for the striker guns. And I'm a big fan of the double stack 1911 style grips. I'm a big, because they just fill out my hand and they're just so intuitive when it comes to pointing it where you want it to go. But this grip is built different, man. The best way I can explain it is that when you have a red dot on here and you draw and present this firearm, as long as your grip is perfect, I won't say perfect, but as long as you have a good solid grip, that dot is going to be right there waiting for you. And I think it has a lot to do with the angle of the mainspring housing plus the front of the grip here. You see how that kind of just like my hand just kind of melts into it, and it just makes it a lot easier for me to get that good contact between the pinky and the base of my hand right here. And as I'm riding up high on the grip safety, I got that good solid contact, so when I come out there, you see that dot like it's just there in the window. I don't know if you can see it right there, but you get what I'm going with that. I say all that to say that this is a very ergonomic pistol, and I really like this grip a lot. Also, we got a nice magwell, aluminum magwell here with that substantial funnel. Like, that is a nice funnel. So my competition shooters, you can do this all day long. I'm sure y'all gonna love that. I also like the fact that this magazine release is not too long. Some people might not like that. They might want to replace this with a raised aftermarket magazine release. I imagine that since this is basically runs off of P320 magazines, it might not be too difficult to find an aftermarket magazine that works with the 320 mags. But I mean, me personally, I can hit it without breaking my grip too much and keep it moving, so that's not really a big deal. The safeties, they're not wide, they're more like your carry style safeties. I don't know if you can see that, like they're pretty thin, but I mean, for the most part, I think it's good enough, at least for my purposes. But some of you might prefer the more wider style Atlas or the wider competition style safeties on your gun. Now, speaking of safety, let's talk about the grip safety. So if there was one con to this gun, at least in my opinion, it's this grip safety. Now, full disclosure, the grip safety, I think the grip safety was done well. It's not too stiff, and sometimes with stiff grip safeties, it just kind of like fatigues my grip a little bit. That's just me. I don't know if you all have experienced that. If you have, let me know down in the comment section. But the grip safety is good enough, and I believe it's the sear springs in here, you know what I mean, the leaf spring that sits in the back of the grip is not super strong. That being said, a pin grip safety would be awesome. So I know there are some people that are going to pin this bad boy as soon as they get an opportunity. Me personally, I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm kind of like that stock, like I like most of my guns stock for the most part. So I don't mess with, I'm not going to mess with this. Maybe worst case, I'll just move this up here and just wrap it around the grip safety, but who knows. Now, one thing that I just recently found out that I did not know initially is that this particular firearm is actually a has series 80 internals, not series 70 internals. This particular gun does have a firing pin safety, and like, take a look, right? I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little something right there. You see how when I go to manipulate the trigger, not sure if you can see that, but yep. So that's something different. This is a series 80 gun, and even though this is a series 80 gun, the trigger feels really nice. I mean, it's advertised as like a 3.5 to 4 pound trigger, but so far, I don't have my trigger gauge on me, but so far it's breaking around 4.5 to 5 pounds. I haven't put a lot of rounds through this particular gun just yet, but I imagine that that's going to loosen up over time, so I'm not too concerned about that. The other thing that may not be something that pure 1911 double stack 1911 gurus may care about, may like, would be the fact of MIM internals. Now, that's just a scuttlebutt from what I'm hearing, that they use MIM parts in here. I don't know about the quality of the MIM parts. I mean, I am not the best person to ask about that sort of thing. I mean, as far as I know, a lot of guns that see a lot of usage have MIM parts, and they run just fine. They perform just fine. So I'm not so sure about that, but I am hearing that it does have MIM internals. So you all might want to do your own research on that should you decide that you want to go into this particular gun. Now, with all that out of the way, oh wait a minute, let's talk about some other things that it comes with. All right, so of course you got your standard SIG accoutrements here. We have, this was the actual plate that was on here. As you can see, the plate's off. This little tool, this is the tool that you use to help take down the pistol. You use that tool in this little pin when you go to field strip the gun. You know, you remove this like you would remove any normal 1911 style tape, a slide catch, and then you got to use that pin to push. Actually, I think you got to use that pin to push that guy out, and this comes off, something to that effect. Haven't field stripped it yet, but I will be doing that soon, so stay tuned for that in my update video. Now it has another recoil spring here. I can't find any data as far as the actual weight of this recoil spring, so I don't know if this is a lighter spring or if it's a heavier spring than the one that's in the gun. Like I said, I have not field stripped it, so I haven't tested this just yet. However, I will be doing that in the future. And of course, you have all the rest of your other SIG accoutrements, things and stuff and things that most people really don't give a damn about. And now that I finally gotten through all of that, let's head on over to the range and let's see this thing in action. What's going on? Welcome to the range portion of the review. We got the P211 GTO down here on the table. I got 4 magazines loaded up. So all we really gonna do is get a feel for this thing. I haven't shot it yet, so this is gonna be pretty damn interesting. Let's start off by putting the target down there at 10 yards. And let's just get our feet. I might need to sight my dot in. I sighted it in at home with the bore sight tool. So right now we just need to see if everything is lined up like it should be. gracious Jesus. It's gonna be interesting. First impressions? It's damn good, man. Y'all know I like to make a review, and I'm not gonna gush because we just started. But so far, so good. Get a target real quick. All right, so we got one. Pretty much, I think the dot is on point. It's just me getting used to the gun. So let's put another mag in there and let's throw some more down. All right, let's go again, y'all. This time for real. Man, this slide is slick as hell. This thing is a tack driver, man. It's ridiculous. Let's check the target. All this is just me overcorrecting my grip. Just got to get used to that different grip angle with the GT211. And I still stand on this. The grip on this is better than a double stack 1911. I just got to get used to it. It's just more pointable than what you would normally see out of traditional double stack 1911, 2011. Now, one of the main questions that people have about the P211 is it a staccato XC killer? Because you know, everybody's trying to find a staccato XC killer that's sub $3,000. So I bought my XC and I'm gonna shoot them side by side. Now, this is not going to be a complete versus. That video will be coming soon to the channel, so you can best believe that. But I want to shoot them side by side to see if I can notice any real difference between the two. The course of fire is going to be simple. Target is at 10 yards. I got 2 magazines loaded up at 10 rounds, and we just going to see how they feel against one another. First up, the GTO. That was nice and smooth. All right, now let's try the XC. Kind of hard to call, honestly. They both feel very good in the hand. The staccato XC has the softer trigger, that's not up for debate, but the shooting impulse is very similar. But let me try that one more time. First up, the GTO. Now the XC. All right, so being 100% honest, in a way, I think the GTO is a little bit better, and I think it's because of that aluminum grip, that extra texture, and the extra weight over the GT. But it punches just slightly harder than the GT, in my opinion. So this is going to be interesting when I finally do that video. But anyway, let's check that target out. So this is the target. I mean, there's no real way to know which is which because I was basically aiming at the same point, but I just wanted to show y'all that target. Anyhow, like I said, that's going to be a very interesting versus when I get to it. I'm still not sold on whether the GTO is a better shooting gun over the XC or not, especially when you consider that the XC just has a much better trigger than the GTO, and hell it should, because it's like $2,000 more expensive. And that's obviously going to play a big factor in how well a person performs with the gun. Now, the thing about the trigger pull is that's one of those preferential type of things. Some people prefer a little heavier trigger pull. Some people prefer a little lighter trigger pull. So it really all depends on what speaks to you the most. But anyway, enough about those two. Let's run some more rounds through the GTO. Then we're going to head back to the place and close this thing out. All right, I got the last of my ammo loaded up. We got the target back there at 10 yards. So, man, let's just have fun with this, all right? Doing a little holster draw. I know my groupings is not going to be the best, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better. So, enough time. Time to go to work. Everything still feels rock solid, as it should. That felt good, but I don't think I hit a damn thing. Just saying. One thing I will say once again, that extra weight, that grip texture, and that grip angle is the difference maker between this and a standard double stack 2011 in my opinion. And as you can see, boy, she's sweet and she's bad as hell too. Check that target. Looks like I'm overcorrecting with my grip because all of my shots are drifting to the right. All in all, not bad. But anyway, that's going to end the range portion of this review. Like I said, I'm basically out of ammo right now. So let's head on back to the review space and close this video out. Welcome back to the review space, everybody. So to sum things up, this particular gun is a shooter for sure. I only put about 150 rounds through it, so it's definitely going to need a 1,000-round review for me to really get a good feel of the gun, to see how truly reliable it is. So definitely stay tuned for that, because that video will be coming in the weeks ahead, months ahead, however long it takes for me to get that done. But like I said, overall my initial impressions are positive. Now, as far as this being a staccato XC killer, it is well too early for me to tell that. Like I said, when I was on the range, does this particular gun shoot better than this? Does the GTO shoot better than the XC? It's hard for me to answer that question in here. It's why, like, I'm just going to reiterate it again. This particular gun has better balance in my opinion because of its aluminum grip and the fact that it has a different shape to the grip. It's just more ergonomic than the polymer grip of the XC. Now don't get me wrong, this grip is plenty ergonomic for me as far as like a bare minimum, but $4,300 versus $2,400, I mean, bare minimum, like hell, they should be giving you the kitchen sink for that kind of money. And that's really what a lot of people criticize the Staccato XC over. And a lot of people, first thing they do is upgrade the grip module to an aluminum grip, while you're getting something like this at almost $2,000 cheaper out of the gate. So I mean, that's going to appeal to some people just off the hop. But it's just going to be interesting to see how well this particular gun holds up over thousands and thousands of rounds versus an XC. Now, I will say this, and I still say this, and I still stand by this. If I had to go to war with a handgun, this would be one of the guns that I would pick. It has the pedigree, it's reliable. I have more than 2,000 rounds on this gun. I have not had a stoppage at all. Not one. None. Zip, zilch. In this XC. So I trust this XC. And I would if I had to bet my life on this XC. The GTO is still too early to tell. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, it's a phenomenal shooting gun. I haven't had any stoppages yet. But 150 rounds in, we got to get that round count up. So we'll see. We will see how things play out. And I definitely will be doing a more detailed versus between these two particular pistols. Another comparison that I am definitely looking forward to doing is comparing this to the Oracle Defense 2311 Pro Elite. Now, I know I know of people who have one. I'm not going to say any names right now, but I know of people who have one, and I am definitely looking forward to putting this gun up against the Oracle Arms 2311 Pro Elite and just to see how they fare against one another. I mean, hell, SIG is trying to steal Oracle Defense's lunch money by building a 2011 on their own magazine footprint. So this is going to be an interesting one. But all in all, like I said, I think this is a solid firearm. And you're going to see a 1,000-round follow-up review coming, like I said, in the weeks and months to come. So with that, I'm going to end it there. Now, question for you all. What do you all think about the GTO, the P211 GTO? Do you have any experiences with it? Have you seen it in the store? Are you thinking about getting one yourself? Let me know down in the comments section. Y'all, let's get this discussion popping. Also, how do you feel about Series 80 1911s in general? Like, I know a lot of people feel as though Series 80s guns, the triggers are not as quick or as smooth as a Series 70 guns, because the Series 80 guns got to defeat that firing pin safety and all that. So let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about the idea of a 3D printed compensator for any gun. All right, let's get this discussion popping. And as always, y'all, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. This is your big homie, the Armchair Operator. I'm signing out, man. Peace.